After 10 years of marriage, Gabriel and I had long grown to dislike each other. He was busy with a rising starlet, and we were voted by fans as the couple they most wanted to see divorce in the entertainment industry. For the sake of publicity, the company arranged for us to appear on a divorce reality show. The host asked if we wanted to get divorced, and we exchanged a glance before saying in unison, "Yes, who would want to be with that dog?" Then the production team dug up a love letter that Gabriel wrote to me when he was 17. The naive and youthful handwriting was earnest in every stroke. "Abigail, I really like you. We should always be together." Chapter 1. On the divorce reality show, the host read out the comments from the audience. "The viewers want to know if both of you still want to get divorced." On the big screen appeared our faces, even under the wide-angle lens. Gabriel's face still looked stunning. His perfectly chiseled jawline was partially obscured by the collar of his white shirt. And the comments flooded in. My mom asked why my phone screen is so wet. "Husband, husband, husband. My husband is really so handsome." I'm completely captivated by Gabriel's stunning looks. I can't imagine anyone wanting to divorce him. Truly, some people don't know how lucky they are. Gabriel's long legs, clad in dress pants, seemed cramped in the narrow space. Yet he still tried to distance himself from me. We exchanged glances, and mutual disgust was clear in our eyes. That dog, always putting on a show outside. No one knew what a terrible person he was behind closed doors. Only a fool would want to stay with him. We said in unison, "Divorce." We shot him a glare before turning away. The host, feeling awkward, continued to ask, "How did you decide to appear on this divorce reality show?" Gabriel leaned back on the couch, nonchalantly replying, "Because we were voted as the couple viewers most wanted to see divorce." It was the company's arrangement. This was a poll initiated by a certain website, and Gabriel and I had secured a decisive first place with a landslide of votes. Most of the votes came from fans shipping him with Alicia. Alicia was Gabriel's junior, and he often took her along for filming. A couple of months ago, they starred in a fantasy romance drama that just blew up online, with countless videos of their ship circulating everywhere. Even I, the legal wife, had watched one where Alicia affectionately adjusted Gabriel's boutonniere on the red carpet, and Gabriel looked down at her, his eyes brimming with affection. The video was themed past lives and present lives, with a passionate soundtrack. If I weren't his wife, I would have been moved. Thousands of comments urged them to get married. Just then, our secret marriage was exposed. The shipping fans were devastated and dug up many clips of our past interactions. By then, our relationship had cooled to an icy point, with frequent public displays of disdain for each other. Later, Gabriel was interviewed, and when asked what he regretted the most in life, he silently contemplated before answering, "Getting married." And that's how we ended up on this crazy ride, driven by the ship fans, to create buzz. The host played a video clip. Let's see how friends on both sides evaluate this marriage. Despite being called friends, the clip featured Alicia. She looked radiant, smiling at the camera. Gabriel is a great partner at work and a senior whom I admire greatly. I think Gabriel is someone who takes care of others, both in work and life. He's truly outstanding, and I hope someone as great as him finds his own happiness. I couldn't help but scoff. When asked to evaluate our marriage, she spent the entire time praising Gabriel. If he was so perfect, then all the problems in our marriage must have been my fault. As expected, the comments began to flood in. "Alicia is so beautiful. She looks amazing on camera." Am I the only one who thinks this sounds a bit hypocritical? They just want an evaluation of their marriage. And what is she even saying? Is that a hater upstairs? Haha. If you see yourself as hypocritical, then you'll see everyone else as hypocritical too. Honestly, I still think Abigail doesn't deserve Gabriel. He and Alicia really have chemistry. I hope he can divorce Abigail and be with Alicia. Agree with the previous comment. Gabriel doesn't even like Abigail. Why is she still clinging to him? So disgusting. I remained expressionless. I really didn't want to be on this show. Marriage was already a mess. Now I had to showcase it to the whole country. How embarrassing. But the company told us that since we were already getting divorced, we might as well create one last wave of hype. $300,000 for a season. Who would turn down money? Fine. After these 3 months, we could finally part ways. Chapter 2. That night, when it was time for bed, Gabriel took the blanket and left. I frowned. "Where are you going?" Without looking back, he replied, "I'm sleeping in the living room." From start to finish, he didn't glance at me even once. I didn't stop him. We had been sleeping apart for a long time. In front of the cameras, there was no need to pretend. On the sofa, his phone kept lighting up. Through the crack of the bedroom door, I could see a faint smile on his face as he typed quickly. He must be chatting with Alicia. I lay back and stared at the ceiling. Suddenly, I was hit with a wave of nostalgia. There was a time when Gabriel and I used to share everything. We would stay up late into the night, confiding in each other. He would be so sleepy he could barely keep his eyes open but still cling to me, begging not to sleep. Just a little longer. His hair would tickle my neck, making me laugh as I pushed him away. "What time is it? Aren't you supposed to work tomorrow?" When did we become so distant that we had nothing to say to each other? It seemed to start when he began sharing his life with someone else. The next day on the show, it was the heart-to-heart segment. The host asked each couple why they wanted to get divorced. I thought for a moment and said, "Because we can't go on like this." The host looked at the comments on screen. "But there are many fans who like Mr. Gabriel. Everyone is curious. He's so handsome and has already won Best Actor at a young age. Why would you want to divorce someone so talented? Good looks don't pay the bills." I shrugged. "We hardly talk now. What's the point of being together if we can't stand each other?" "What about Gabriel?" the host asked him. Gabriel pinched his nose, his irritation evident. His nose was high, with a slight bump that only enhanced his attractiveness. He didn't hide his disdain, because we have no common ground. All these years, with me filming outside, we've lost touch. When I come home, it's either silence or endless arguments. He sounded annoyed. "It's frustrating." The comments flooded in. "Poor Best Actor, working hard outside, only to come home and argue with his wife. Why did he marry someone like that? Right. I really hope they get divorced. Alicia is much better suited for him." Watching their videos, Gabriel's gaze at Alicia is clearly filled with affection. "I really hope they can be together. Abigail doesn't deserve him at all." I couldn't help but retort, "Yeah, clearly he has a wife and still ships with other women. It's hard to find common ground with someone like that. Can you stop being unreasonable?" Gabriel frowned. "We were promoting a new drama. Do you think everyone's as dirty-minded as you?" Just as we were about to argue, the host quickly stepped in to mediate. "Do you regret getting together in the first place?" Gabriel nodded without hesitation. "Of course. My biggest regret in life is marrying her." I looked down, my nails digging into my palms, the sharp pain slowly numbing. "How did you two end up together?" The host continued. This question caught both Gabriel and me off guard. It felt like such a long time ago. We got together when we were 17, and now, 13 years had passed. Gabriel confessed first. "Right?" I furrowed my brow, trying to remember. He pursued me. "Impossible." Gabriel scoffed. "How could I like someone like you? You must have been the one clinging to me." We were about to start arguing again when the host cheerfully pulled out a metal box. "Stop arguing. The answer is right here." I was stunned. The metal box was something I had given my manager to pass to the production team. It contained many random pieces from our past, but it had been so long that I couldn't fully remember what was inside. Just that there were letters and postcards we had written to each other. The host pulled out a yellow piece of paper and zoomed in on the camera. "This is a love letter written by Gabriel at 17 to Miss Abigail. Let's take a look." Gabriel and I exchanged a puzzled glance. The worn paper unfolded, revealing the youthful, innocent handwriting. "Abigail, my parents talked to me today. They don't allow me to date. They say I'm just being impulsive and won't really like you for long. But I think I'll always like you. Forever and ever. We should always be together." Each stroke was carefully written. Forgotten memories rushed back, transcending time in my mind. This was Gabriel at 17, who I hadn't seen in over 10 years. He wasn't perfect like he is now, nor had he been worn down by time. His black hair was damp with sweat from playing ball, and his jersey was stained from who knows where. With dark eyes and a carefree smile, "Abigail, He leaned in closer, his eyes sparkling. "Did you see that shot I just made? Wasn't it cool?" I purposely didn't praise him. I didn't see it. His mood immediately dropped. But then he perked up again, saying, "No worries. Your husband will show you next time." "Who's your husband?" I pushed him, and we laughed and chased each other down a narrow alley. The sunset stretched our intertwined shadows longer. Gabriel stared intently at that letter. It seemed as if the piece of paper from 10 years ago had captured his entire attention, his expression shifting through a whirlwind of emotions. The host asked the question again that I hadn't answered earlier. "Ms. Abigail, do you regret getting together with Gabriel?" Gabriel's hand trembled slightly as he turned to look at me. I gazed down at the letter. After a moment of silence, I quietly replied, "I don't regret it. We were so in love back then, in the innocence of youth. How could we have imagined we would end up resenting each other? But why must I be reminded of those beautiful moments? If I hadn't thought of them, I wouldn't feel how devastating our current situation is. We once loved each other so deeply, but that love ultimately couldn't withstand the test of time." Gabriel looked a bit dazed. He opened his mouth, as if wanting to say something, but in the end, he said nothing. The comments poured in. "This is hard to watch." I thought Abigail was the one clinging to Gabriel, but it seems he was the one who cared first. How did he go from that to not loving her anymore? Young couples are like that. I've seen you at your best and your worst, and after experiencing both good and bad, the freshness is gone. How could it compare to new people outside? I still think Abigail is at fault. Now that Gabriel is an award-winning actor, she can't keep up with him. Alicia is definitely more suited for Gabriel. That was over a decade ago. What's the point of bringing it up? How could anyone love the same person for so long? Yes, that was 13 years ago. Back then, at 17, Gabriel and I were consumed by passion, burning brightly and recklessly. And now, we're about to turn 30. That fire, which had burned for so many years, had long since extinguished in the passage of time. What remained was only a heap of ashes that could never reignite. Chapter 3. That night, Alicia came to visit the show crew. The other guests and the cameraman looked at me with a hint of awkwardness. I walked over and saw Alicia pulling out several fancy Japanese bento boxes from her bag. Speaking in a coy tone, "I know you probably won't like the food here. You're such a picky eater. This is from your favorite place. Hurry and eat it." Her demeanor was too natural, as if she were Gabriel's wife. Gabriel sat beside her in silence, seemingly lost in thought. When he saw me, his movement paused. Alicia smiled at me. "Abigail, do you want to join us for a bite?" Gabriel is picky. He never eats the crew's boxed meals while filming. I was worried he wouldn't have a good appetite, so I brought him food. "You don't mind, do you?" One of the other guests' wives couldn't help but scoff, turning away, clearly looking down on Alicia's lowly provocation. I smiled calmly. "If you don't mind publicly humiliating yourself, what do I have to mind?" With that, I turned and walked away. Alicia's face turned pale with anger. The other guests couldn't help but snicker. This wasn't the first time Alicia had provoked me, and it certainly wasn't the worst. A year ago, I received the news that my mother was gravely ill in the middle of the night, and I collapsed on the spot. For Gabriel, I had moved thousands of miles away. Getting home required at least a few hours on a plane. In a daze, I called Gabriel, but after countless attempts, he didn't answer. In the end, I had to despairingly board the flight home alone. The midnight red-eye flight traversed the night, and as I gazed out the window, it felt like my tears would never stop flowing. 4 hours later, when I disembarked, I had cried myself dry. I could cry no more. I heard from my family that my mother had held on for a long time waiting for me to return, but I was still too late. My mother didn't leave me a single word, nor did she have time to look at me one last time. My father had passed away long ago, and I was left to handle my mother's funeral alone. During my darkest hour, Alicia sent me a WeChat message. It was a photo of her and Gabriel, she facing the camera while he looked at her with tender affection. "I'm sorry, Abigail. Gabriel was celebrating my birthday yesterday, so he didn't get your call. I heard about your mother's passing. I tried to convince him to hurry back to see you, but he insisted that my birthday was more important. She sent a smiling emoji. Don't blame Gabriel. It's my fault. If you want to be mad at me. That was the first time I realized that when pain reaches its peak, one doesn't cry out in agony. Rather, one falls into a numbness as if time has stopped. I couldn't see anymore. I couldn't hear anything. I was utterly devoid of sensation. After what felt like an eternity, that coiled, venomous pain slowly blossomed from my heart, spreading through every vein. I knelt slowly, pressing my hand hard against my chest. In a single night, I lost the two people I loved most in the world, my mother and my partner of 12 years. Gabriel arrived the next evening. Looking at him, for the first time, I didn't feel like arguing with him over Alicia. In the past, our arguments about Alicia would escalate into chaos, with him watching me cry and throw tantrums, losing all semblance of dignity. But this time, I suddenly didn't want to say anything anymore. I calmly handled everything and boarded the flight back alone. That night, I sent him the divorce agreement. In the end, the divorce didn't go through. At that time, Gabriel had signed a bet agreement with his company. Any division of property related to divorce would be complicated. His agent tried every way to persuade me to wait until he finished his bet before divorcing, promising to give me an extra 10% of the property as compensation. From that day on, Gabriel and I had completely torn apart. The struggle that had burned for so many years finally extinguished completely. Chapter 4. The next day, the show crew took us to a basement where we would stay for the night. We were only given 3 bowls of instant noodles. The host smiled at us. According to our understanding, this basement is where Gabriel and Abigail once lived. We hope the two of you can stay here for a night, rekindling some of the memories and feelings from back then. I walked into the cramped, dim space and felt momentarily disoriented. This was indeed the basement where Gabriel and I had once lived. After 7 or 8 years, not much had changed. The exposed pipes still leaked, dripping steadily. The room was small enough to hold only a single bed. There wasn't even a table. Only above the toilet was a small window. And even in the morning, the room saw little sunlight. Gabriel and I sat on the bed, looking at each other in silence. After a while, he stood up to make a bowl of instant noodles and frowned. They only gave us 3 bowls today. We'll have to split them into 3 meals, half each, right? So, after many years, we sat on the bed again, sharing a bowl of instant noodles. But even though the environment hadn't changed, reality was a different story. Gabriel frowned slightly, unable to eat after just 1 bite. The noodles in my mouth tasted like cardboard, and I hastily put down the soggy noodles. Neither of us ate anymore. Of course, he had long been used to Alicia's gourmet meals. How could he eat instant noodles that cost $5 a box? The room fell into silence. 2 people who no longer loved each other sat in a confined space, making it feel unbearably uncomfortable. Just as I was thinking of making an excuse to step outside, the small television in the room suddenly turned on. After a flurry of static, Gabriel's face appeared on the screen. It was a VCR prepared by the show crew. I was taken aback. It was a younger Gabriel. He held his phone in one hand, snapping a selfie, while the other hand was dropping a braised egg into the instant noodle box. 22-year-old Gabriel had shed the boyish naivety in his eyes, but those bright, dark eyes still sparkled, his smile reminiscent of a crescent moon. He proudly presented the noodle box to 22-year-old me. Gabriel's exclusive recipe, braised beef noodles. Special braised egg edition. I pouted, braised beef noodles again? I want pork bone noodles. He poked my forehead with his finger. Just be glad to have something to eat. I ran to 3 shops downstairs today and couldn't find any pork bone noodles. I'll buy them tomorrow. Just make do with this today. And I even added a braised egg for you. I tugged at his sleeve, laughing sweetly. Let's eat together. He gave the camera a helpless yet proud smile. My wife is too clingy. What can I do? I'll begrudgingly accompany you to eat. We finished that bowl of noodles with our heads touching. At the end, Gabriel lifted the box and drank the broth, unable to help but exclaim, "My cooking is really that good." Short videos continued one after another. That night as we went to sleep, Gabriel wrapped his arms around me from behind. The winter basement was freezing. the dripping water turning to ice, and I was shivering, feeling like the electric blanket had lost its warmth. I trembled and asked Gabriel, "When you win the Best Actor award, will you take me to walk the red carpet?" "Of course," he replied without hesitation. "I'll be the first to thank you. I'll say, I'm grateful for having the best wife in the world. Without her, I wouldn't be where I am today." I laughed and pushed him. "Are you crazy?" He couldn't help but chuckle. "You praise me, and I'm crazy?" Just then, my stomach grumbled, and I patted my empty belly, unable to suppress a sigh. "Gabriel, when do you think we can live a good life?" After a moment of silence, he forced a smile. "Soon." A friend of mine said he would ask his company if they need new talent in a few days. "If that doesn't work, I'll look for any production teams that need extras." His voice sounded a bit hollow. "Abigail, after all the hardships we've faced together, do you regret it?" I turned to hug him, grinning. "I didn't suffer much. You even made me your special braised beef noodles." "It's okay, old Gabriel. I was just saying it casually. As long as we're together, I'll be content." Gabriel didn't respond, just held me tighter. After a long time, just as I was drifting off to sleep, he whispered, "Abigail, I won't let you down. I will make sure you live a good life." Chapter 5. Gabriel and I watched the video in silence. In fact, I had almost forgotten those memories. During that time, Gabriel loved to document our lives, but he got busier and eventually stopped filming. After achieving success, Gabriel seemed determined to sever ties with his past and never mention those days again. Eventually, Gabriel did win the Best Actor award, but it wasn't me who walked the red carpet with him. It was Alicia. Their photos filled the front pages, flashing in front of me for a long time. He didn't thank me. He thanked the crew, the staff, and Alicia, his co-star, but I was left out. The color drained from Gabriel's face as he slowly turned to look at me. It seemed he wanted to meet my gaze but was afraid to, so he lowered his head. This man who had repeatedly promised not to let me down had long since thrown away those commitments, leaving me utterly betrayed. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice trembling. "Abigail, His fist clenched, the veins standing out, his voice choked with emotion, unable to continue. I replied calmly, "You don't need to apologize to me. I believe you were sincere when you said you wouldn't let me down. It's just that later, he truly fell out of love, and that was also sincere." The comments on the live stream surged. "Oh my God. Abigail has been through so much with Gabriel. I can kind of understand her now. If I had supported a man through his tough times only for him to develop feelings for another woman, I would be even angrier than she is." Gabriel wasted that handsome face. Who knew he was such a scumbag? Disgusting. Alicia is the real problem here. Isn't she just a homewrecker? It's not like Gabriel forced Abigail to endure hardships. She chose to do it. Besides, didn't she enjoy the benefits of Gabriel's success? Stop playing the victim. That night, Alicia's call came in again. Gabriel, who usually answered quickly, just glanced at the screen and pressed the hang-up button. He sat on the edge of the bed, wanting to say something but stopping short. "How are we going to sleep tonight? There's only one bed." I turned to look at the bed. It was a 1.5-meter single bed, and Gabriel and I had squeezed onto it for 3 years. Back then, even though we were poor, our hearts were filled with love for each other and expectations for the future. Was it hard? Not really. Now that he had made it big, had money, and was at the top of his game, he said I had suffered alongside him, which was true, but the bitterness in my heart had only come much later. I stood up and said softly, "I'll go out. You can sleep." Gabriel grabbed my wrist, his voice unexpectedly tinged with desperation. "Abigail, we haven't slept together in a long time. Don't you remember? We were happy here once. The show crew wants us to relive those feelings. Please don't go." I slowly pulled his hand away. "Gabriel, I haven't forgotten. You're the one who forgot." Gabriel looked as if he had been struck, his face pale and silent. He slowly bent down, defeated. "You're right," he said with a bitter smile. "I'm the one who forgot. I've become successful and rich, eager to discard that past version of myself. When I see you, It reminds me of those days of struggle. Rather than saying I don't want to see you, I should say I despise who I used to be. I'm sorry, Abigail. He covered his face tightly. You've never forgotten. I'm the one who forgot. I forgot how much I once loved you. I was left speechless. I didn't know what to say. In fact, we had reached a point where we had long since run out of words. After a long silence, Gabriel stood up, his eyes still red-rimmed. He forced a smile. I'll go for a walk. You can sleep. I won't bother you anymore. With that, he turned and left the room. After a while, muffled sobs came from outside. They were low and stifled, full of sorrow. I looked out at the moon. The moon was still the same, but the atmosphere in the room had changed. People had changed. Chapter 6. The divorce reality show became a sensation. Especially my relationship with Gabriel, the hotshot best actor, attracted the attention of the public, and discussions about us were everywhere. At that moment, a marketing account suddenly published a post. The reason Gabriel is so fond of Alicia is that back when he was still a newcomer, she helped him get a role that made him famous. It was the second male lead that earned him that year's Best Newcomer award. So Gabriel has always been grateful to Alicia. Originally, Alicia had been criticized online as the homewrecker who broke up a marriage, but now her reputation had a complete turnaround. Whether it was bots or actual users, comments flooded in. Alicia is really kind. There's no need to call her a homewrecker. She didn't do anything wrong. If I were in Gabriel's shoes, I'd also have feelings for someone who could help me at a crucial moment and looks good too. I think it's understandable that Gabriel likes her. True, Abigail lived in the basement with Gabriel for years, but it's Alicia who has been with him since he became famous. Without her, there wouldn't be today's Gabriel. Alicia frequently appeared on interviews, and when the host asked her if she had someone she liked, she just smiled sadly. Yes, I do. He helps me greatly in both work and life and gives me a lot of guidance. I admire him very much, but he already has a partner, and we met too late. This statement was too pointed, sending gossip fans into a frenzy. Oh my, I really ship this. When I fell for you, you were already with someone else. I still think Gabriel loves Alicia. His feelings for Abigail are just a sense of responsibility. Why doesn't Abigail just let go if she knows Gabriel doesn't love her anymore? Isn't it selfish to keep him from being happy? Seriously? Why are people painting the homewrecker as a victim? Is beauty really justice? Just then, the staff from Gabriel's agency, Xingchuan, also posted on Weibo. Is the character Alicia helped Gabriel with the second male lead in Qing Cheng? If I remember correctly, that role was actually given to Gabriel by Abigail. Abigail was also in the industry and had a director interested in her, offering her the female lead in Qing Cheng. Abigail wanted to bring Gabriel along, but the investors only allowed one leading role for Xinchuan, leaving the rest for other companies. It was Abigail who pushed her female lead role to let Gabriel take the second male lead. She didn't let us mention it back then, but we all knew it. How did it become Alicia's doing? Do they think we have no memory? Once this post went up, the internet exploded. Several Xinchuan staff confirmed it. Even the director of Qing Cheng stepped in to affirm it. Gabriel burst through the door and rushed in front of me, visibly agitated. You gave me that role? I nodded. Yes. Back then, Gabriel had struggled with auditions and was very downcast, even telling me multiple times that he wanted to give up acting. Meanwhile, I started receiving some roles. The day I got the female lead in Qing Cheng, I was excited to share the news with Gabriel, but found him on the balcony, despondently smoking. The ground was littered with cigarette butts, his stubble unkempt, the light in his eyes completely extinguished. Abigail. His voice was lifeless. I went for an audition today and got rejected again. Do you think I should just give up on this career? That night, I couldn't sleep at all. The next day, I recommended Gabriel to the director, but I didn't tell Gabriel. He had a strong sense of pride, and if he knew the role was swapped for mine, he wouldn't accept it. Qing Cheng turned out to be a great project, breaking viewing records, while the actress who replaced me became a top star, but I never regretted it. I only learned today that Alicia had taken credit for it. How ridiculous. But I didn't care anymore. Why didn't you tell me? Gabriel's jaw tightened, emotions swirling in his eyes. What do you think? I scoffed. He paused. Gabriel knew I did it to protect his pride. He trembled slightly, staggering back a couple of steps. I didn't want to say anything more to him and stood up to leave. Alicia's reputation plummeted again. Alicia is so shameless. She stole someone's credit and then tried to steal her husband. What kind of person is that? Alicia deserves to be blacklisted. This kind of trash should be banned from the entertainment industry. Abigail is so pitiful. She tried to protect her husband's pride but ended up being usurped by another woman. I regret ever shipping them. Abigail is truly a good person, but Gabriel doesn't deserve her. Alicia frantically called Gabriel. When he didn't answer, she showed up at the show's production team. This time, she had lost her usual calm, crying at the door. Gabriel, please come out and see me. I can explain. It's all a misunderstanding. Gabriel stepped out, looking at her coldly, as if she were trash. Gabriel, please listen to me. Alicia, no longer dignified, lunged to embrace him but he dodged, leaving her to kneel on the ground, wailing. I admit I was deceived by my own feelings, but our years together were not fake. Don't you care about me at all? Tears streamed down her face, making her look pitiful, her eyes swollen like rotten peaches. Gabriel, however, showed no sign of pity. Alicia, you disgust me, he said with contempt. Get lost. Don't ever appear in front of me again, or you'll know the consequences. Alicia looked at him in disbelief. Then her gaze landed on me, filled with hatred like a knife. It's you, isn't it? You did this on purpose. You just want to ruin me, to come between us. You can't stand seeing him like me. I walked over, towering over her. What did I do? Did I force you to deceive him? Alicia fell silent. What relationship did I ruin for you? I mocked. Tell me, what kind of relationship can a single woman have with a married man? Alicia clenched her teeth, unable to speak. I couldn't be bothered to spare her another glance. She had no idea. The best part was yet to come. A few days later, Alicia's past scandals were exposed, including late-night meetings with married male directors, mistreating staff, and temper tantrums during shoots. But those weren't the worst. The most serious accusation came from her own staff, who reported her to the tax authorities for evading taxes amounting to $37 million. With solid evidence, this time, Alicia was done for. All her endorsements were dropped, advertising partnerships were terminated overnight, and her shows were pulled from airing. She was blacklisted, never to return to the industry, and some of this was orchestrated by me, but most of it was a concerted effort by her rivals seizing the opportunity. Alicia had made money over the past few years, but the tax fines and penalties for breaking contracts added up to astronomical figures. Even if she sold all her assets, she couldn't cover it. Alicia was finished. Chapter 7. The show was nearing its end. The final segment required us, the couples, to work together for survival. Gabriel and I were tasked with climbing a mountain and camping overnight. Unfortunately, just as we started our ascent, the previously clear skies were suddenly covered with dark clouds. Thunder rumbled ominously, and flashes of lightning illuminated the sky. Then, out of nowhere, a torrential downpour began. The mountain path was already difficult, and the rain, mixed with strong winds and heavy droplets, made it impossible to see. A thick fog enveloped the mountain, as if we were cursed. We ended up getting separated from the production team in this dreadful weather. The ground was slippery, and as I climbed, I lost my footing and fell. Gabriel instinctively grabbed me, wrapping his arms around me as we tumbled down together. We landed in a ravine, and while I was mostly unhurt, his lower leg twisted at an unnatural angle, leaving him pale with pain. I panicked. Gabriel, are you okay? Soaked to the bone, he looked like a drenched rat, yet he managed to muster a faint smile. I'm fine, not dead yet. We huddled together, drenched in the rain. The rain came quickly but left just as fast, and soon it stopped pouring. In the chaos, Gabriel leaned against a tree, his face growing increasingly pale, unable to move. I was frantic. My phone had no signal, and I couldn't reach the production team. I shouted for help for a long time, but there was no response. With a bitter smile, I said, "Are we really going to die out here?" Gabriel chuckled softly. Since our fallout, I had rarely seen him smile. He closed his eyes and said, "At least I have you here. If we're going to die, we might as well do it together." I shot him an incredulous look. "If you want to die, go ahead." "I don't want to die." After a moment of silence, he spoke again. "Abigail, I'm actually happy." I couldn't help but scold him. "Are you insane? You have a broken leg. And you're happy?" Sweat mixed with the rain dripped from his forehead, but his eyes sparkled with a lightness I hadn't seen in ages. "We haven't been like this together in so long." "I'm happy." Ignoring him, I began shouting for help again. Gabriel's leg quickly swelled, and the daylight faded. If we didn't leave soon, we might freeze to death on the mountain tonight. After a while, Gabriel said, "You should go first, find help, and come back for me." I was taken aback. He shrugged nonchalantly. "I'm a big star. The production team won't give up on me. You should hurry down." The mountain was vast, and finding one person in it was like searching for a needle in a haystack. Getting down was manageable. There was a faint trail to follow, but trying to bring someone back up, especially if it started to rain again, would mean Gabriel might never be found. He was hurt badly, and it was all because he saved me. I couldn't just leave him here. After a moment of hesitation, I took a deep breath and firmly grabbed his arm. "Can your other leg manage? I'll carry you down." The area was relatively flat, so if I took it slow, we might be okay. Gabriel looked at me with mixed emotions. "You don't have to worry about me. Just go." Impatiently, I insisted. "No more talking. Get on my back." He stared at me for a moment but finally relented, allowing me to half-drag him onto my back. Though Gabriel had a standard build, he was still a 186 centimeters man, and I nearly toppled under his weight. Fortunately, having been an athlete in school, I managed to take one step at a time. We were both drenched, and I could feel his body heat against mine. As he chuckled, his chest vibrated against my back. "Abigail, you still can't bear to leave me behind. You're just too soft-hearted." "Yeah," I replied flatly. "Always being the nice one has its consequences." Gabriel fell silent. After a while, he wrapped his arms around me and murmured into my neck, "I know I was wrong. Can you give me another chance? I'm begging you." His voice trembled slightly, laced with an unspoken plea. "Abigail, you didn't leave me behind. You still love me, right?" Just as I was about to respond, I suddenly heard voices calling our names from a distance. The production team and search and rescue crew broke through the branches, looking as if they had found a miracle. "We found them. People found." The words I had in my throat spun around but ultimately remained unspoken. Chapter 8. Gabriel's leg was fractured. Fortunately, there were no major issues. He only had some minor injuries that would heal with time. A few days later, the production team began filming the final episode. The theme of this episode was summary and analysis, and we were to revisit the question from the first episode, "Do you want a divorce?" The journey for Gabriel and Abigail hasn't been easy. They've faced many difficulties, but they've also overcome numerous challenges together. "So, Gabriel, do you still regret getting married?" Gabriel shook his head. "I was foolish before. Sometimes people get lost along the way, and only when they look back do they realize how wrong they were. I don't regret it. Marrying Abigail was the best decision of my life." "And what about you, Abigail?" The host turned to me. I didn't hesitate. "I still don't regret it. When I married him, I truly loved him. There's nothing to regret." Gabriel's expression shifted slightly. "And do you still want a divorce?" The Gabriel who had once been so resolute in wanting a divorce fell silent. "I don't want to leave." After a moment, he whispered, "I know it's shameless to say this after hurting you, but I just can't let go." "Isn't that selfish?" He forced a bitter smile, his eyes beginning to glisten. "But I really don't want a divorce. Abigail, please, give me another chance. I swear I won't hurt you again." I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't. How long had I waited for those words? Too long. I once loved him deeply, then I hated him, but having come this far, I realized I felt neither love nor hate for him anymore. Only a stranger's indifference remained. This reality show might have brought him pleasant memories, reminding him of how much he once loved me. But for me, it was just another chance to revisit the pain I had tried to forget. It reminded me of how deeply he had once hurt me. Going back was like stepping into an abyss. I said softly, I still want a divorce. A flicker of hurt flashed in Gabriel's eyes, and he swayed slightly, with red-rimmed eyes. He choked out, "Can you think about it a little longer? I know I was wrong, terribly wrong. You can hit me or yell at me, punish me however you want." Gabriel, always so dignified, now broke down on camera, tears streaming down his face. "Abigail, I don't want a divorce. Please give me another chance. Let's not get divorced, okay?" He gripped my arms tightly. "I can't live without you." I smiled gently, prying his fingers off one by one. "I'm answering the question you asked that day." Gabriel froze for a moment, as if realizing something, his expression shifting dramatically. Then he became frantic. "I don't want to hear it. Don't say it. I don't want to hear it." The crew was stunned, watching him lose control but too afraid to intervene. I enunciated each word carefully. "Gabriel, you asked me if I still love you. Now I'm telling you, I don't love you anymore. Not at all." Chapter 9. The final episode ended in a hurry. As I left, Gabriel was still slumped on the floor. He cried heart-wrenchingly, like a child who had lost his favorite toy. He knew I wouldn't turn back. When I love someone, I love fiercely and without regrets, regardless of the outcome. But when I stop loving, I don't linger. I will never look back. After the episode aired, both Gabriel and I became trending topics. Most of my followers supported me and criticized him, but his die-hard fans were numerous, so he didn't face significant backlash right away. In the end, we went to get our divorce certificate. Gabriel gave me all his assets and left empty-handed. He smiled bitterly, saying, "I can't treat you well anymore. This is the only way I can compensate you." I didn't refuse. 3 months later, I was jolted awake by a phone call in the middle of the night. My friend sounded shocked. Gabriel just announced his retirement. I opened Weibo and saw Gabriel had just posted a status. "Thank you to all the friends and fans who have loved and supported me over the years. Starting today, I will be indefinitely retiring from the industry and will not return." Sometimes when people walk too long, they get lost in the dazzling world and forget what their original intentions were. This filming experience reminded me that I pursued my dreams not just for myself but to ensure she wouldn't suffer alongside me and could live a good life. I didn't want this world to hurt her. But in the end, the one who hurt her the most was me. I walked this path because of her. And all these years, she has always been by my side while I habitually ignored her. But now I realize that without her, I can no longer walk this road. Thank you once again, and I hope everyone cherishes their loved ones and doesn't wait until they lose them to appreciate them. Goodbye. I stared blankly at my screen. My friend continued to ask, "Now that he's retired and gave you all his money, how will you live?" She urged softly. "I think Gabriel truly cares for you, and he really understands his mistakes now. You've been together for so long. It's not easy. Why not forgive him? If I forgive him, who will forgive me?" I lowered my gaze. It was precisely because our journey had been so difficult that he couldn't be easily forgiven for letting go like this. We had weathered storms together, and I thought we would be special. But in the end, it turned out to be easy to endure hardship together but difficult to share joy. If I forgave him, what would become of the silent tears, the heart-wrenching torment I had endured at night? Whenever I faced him again, I would always think of Alicia. I would never get over that mental hurdle, and I would torment myself for a lifetime. My friend fell silent. I hung up the phone and lay on my bed. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep, but before long, I drifted off. In my dream, I was 17 again, sitting on a speeding train with Gabriel. He propped his face on his hands, looking at me with a smile. I felt a little shy under his gaze and retorted, "Why do you keep staring at me?" He raised an eyebrow, his handsome features carrying a playful air. "I'm looking at my wife. Who are you to complain? After a bit of playful banter, he seemed to grow up a little. Appearing in his early 20s, he brought over a bowl of beef noodles, a smug expression lighting up his face. Gabriel's special marinated egg beef noodles are here. We leaned toward each other, sharing the bowl, and he held the marinated egg to my lips. Eat! I took a bite, my cheeks stuffed full, mumbling, half for each. The train continued forward, and he aged a bit more, now dressed in a sharp suit. He looked at me intently and declared, I vow to become your husband. Starting today, we will support each other, whether in good times or bad, in wealth or poverty, in sickness or health. We will love and cherish one another until death do us part. Then, he knelt down, sliding a ring onto my ring finger. Everyone around us burst into applause, showering us with blessings. As time passed, people came and went around us. We began to change. We stopped talking, stopped looking at each other. Even our occasional glances were cold and distant, lacking any warmth. Eventually, we didn't even sit together. Finally, the train came to a halt. As I picked up my luggage to get off, Gabriel panicked, standing up and shouting, Where are you going? Our eyes met through the crowd. I smiled slightly. I'm getting off now. You'll have to walk on your own from here. Gabriel hurried to chase after me, but the train doors had already closed. We could only look at each other through the glass. He was frantic, tears streaming down his face as he banged on the window. Abigail! Abigail! Come back! Where are you going? I'll go with you. I just waved at him with a smile. Goodbye, Gabriel. I'll accompany you this far. He screamed in anguish as the train began to move. Our figures grew smaller in each other's eyes, until the train roared forward, finally disappearing from view. I closed my eyes, a tear sliding down my cheek, soaking into my pillow, darkening a patch. In this journey of life, we once shared a connection, walking a part of the road together, but ultimately, it was a fleeting bond, and the time for goodbye came all too quickly. From now on, with the sky high and the road long, we each have to walk our own path. Goodbye, Gabriel.